so much. Thanks, Jen. Thank you to Caroline. Thank you to Dawn, and particularly for the +1 that I was able to bring with me today, which my daughter Phoebe is on half term, having the best half term of anyone ever. So, Phoebe, you're very, very welcome. And good afternoon to everybody here. I'm absolutely going to talk about Synthesise. I'm absolutely going to talk about creativity and technology. I'm also going to talk about people. And I want to talk about how the rising expectations we have of technology and the world around us, the challenges that these rising expectations present to us all, and how we in the technology and the creative world can best respond. So let me start with an admission. I love to cook. Yes. Oh, excellent, brilliant. I'm not the only one that loves to cook, but I love to cook. And I have to admit, I'm more of an enthusiast than an expert. I'm one of those cooks that believes that the kind of messier things are, the better things are going. So just last week, you can picture this scene. There's splodges of stuff everywhere all over the table. I'm juggling 4 pans simultaneously, and I need to set a 5-minute timer. Now, last year, my options were ask my wife, but she's already pretty busy. This is going to annoy her. I look at my watch, add 5 minutes, look at the watch in the kitchen, add 5 minutes, and then forget to do that, and then the thing I need to not burn burns. Or I struggle to get my phone out, I cover my screen with gunk. It's not particularly satisfying. But that was last year's option. Last week, what I said was, Alexa, please can you set a 5-minute timer? Followed by, Alexa, please can you play some Tears for Fears? Ah, I'm not alone. That's good. That's good. And because this recipe went okay, I didn't have to say, Alexa, please can you order some Chinese from Just Eat? And of course, it's a trivial example, but I remember thinking at the time, as I've done so many times before, that this technology is amazing. This is science fiction in my lifetime. And that quickly turned to, all too quickly turned to, why doesn't my car listen to me? No, why can't I talk to my toaster? And the point is that as soon as a piece of tech becomes mainstream, we expect its functionality in everything. We almost take no time at all to become acclimatized to our new magical world, a world that didn't even exist a few days previously. And the only thing that is going faster than technology is our rising expectations. And it's not just in technology that our expectations are rising. Our expectations of experiences, our expectations of creativity, and even advertising, and an industry I spent 2 decades in, are increasing. Now let me show you an ad. Now, I know for sure it's not the greatest ad of all time. I know that. But arguably, it isn't the worst. In fact, quite far from it. And the remarkable thing about this ad is it wasn't created by a mainstream advertising agency or a rock star creative team. It was created by a fishmonger in Italy on her smartphone in under an hour. The accessibility to great creative expression driven by technology is higher than it's ever been, and it's getting higher every day. There's a constant rising bar of our expectations driven by continuous advances in technology. And that brings with it a particular and a somewhat peculiar challenge. And I'm not talking about the dystopian view of technology driven by fear and some of the uncertainty that comes with things like automation and the spread of misinformation. Well, those things are important and we can't be blind to them. I'm talking about a challenge that can be summed up in a 3-letter word. To us in this room, it's possibly the most dangerous word in the English language. It was popularized by Homer. We'll find out which one. And it went into the Oxford English Dictionary in 2015. It's the last word you're going to hear on this clip.
Awesome. Awesome! Awesome! Meh.
There it is. That three-letter word, meh, meh. A word that became popular. It's meh, according to the dictionary, is an interjection used as an expression of indifference or boredom, often regarded as a verbal shrug of the shoulders. Meh is the verbal shrug of indifference. I can connect to almost anyone in the world at the touch of a button. I have access to pretty much every music, film, book ever created, whenever and wherever I want. I can wear a watch on my wrist that packs the same punch of the supercomputers of my youth. And as we've already heard, our phones contain the computing power of the people that got to the moon. And yet, our wow window is getting narrower. And our meh window is getting wider. Meh is neither positive or negative. It's a neutral charge of people's personalities, the fundamental state that can only be altered by seeing something that moves us on an emotional level, something that connects to us as people, something creative. And if we're not entertained or impressed or moved by the world around us, we won't feel the need to act or to share or to strive. We remain motionless. And even though we're surrounded by technology that we couldn't have imagined a decade ago, because of accelerating expectations, for all of us, avoiding that three-letter word is harder than it's ever been. And why is that the case? What is the synthesis, in a way, that's causing this challenge and this opportunity to us? Well, there are two reasons why it's harder. One, and we'd have heard about it already today, the fact that technology is getting better and better and better and faster and faster and faster. Moore's famous law that was coined in the 1970s, that processing speed of computers would double every year, every 2 years. Some predicted that would plateau after 10, and yet that's remained true for 40 years since that original prediction. That's 40 years of exponential growth in computing speed. So the technology in our phones is more complex, yet again, than that computer that took people to the moon. Couple that with cheaper data storage, faster internet speed, massive mobile phone penetration, and you can see quite how fast things really are. But there is another reason why that's becoming more challenging and the bar is rising. And it's because of us. It's because of people. And we're really just beginning to understand just how incredible we are. This little equation here, and I'll give it some context in this session, this is what we got between our ears. Everybody in this room, there's 7 billion of us that are around, we have 86 billion neurons, and the human brain operates at a level of 1 kilohertz. And it makes our brains equal to 100 terabytes in processing equivalency. And what that means is that every single person on the planet is equal in its capabilities to the entirety of the internet in 2012. Except there's one internet and there's 7 billion of us. So we're beginning to understand what we are truly capable of. And one of the things that means is we're incredibly good at identifying imagery. And in fact, we only need to see an image for 14 milliseconds to identify it. Some flickers. Okay, that's good. So we tried that out then. Question out there. Did we see a van or did we see a car? Was it yellow and black or was it blue and white? Was it old or was it new? And if you didn't see it, it's okay. It's probably because you're on your phone. And from Facebook, we're okay with that. But in fact, we process imagery 60,000 times faster than we process text. And I'm trying to guess the average age in this room. Phoebe, you'll be an exception to this average. When we look at millennials, they make the rest of us look like we're wading through treacle. So this is data from Facebook's newsfeed, and we analyzed the different scroll rates at which different age groups go through their newsfeed. What this data shows, as a man well, actually there aren't any gender specifics on this, but as somebody who's in their 40s, I am 1.6 times slower in how I go through my feed than somebody that's under 20. And much as I might like to seek comfort by suggesting that's because being a bit older, I'm a bit more considered in what I know and I'm a bit more discerning, I simply don't think that's the case. I simply do not believe that is true. It's just because young people's brains move faster. They move faster and their expectations are higher. And the value they place on their time, and they won't accept anything that isn't designed for them or relevant for them. And really, why should they? And then what we found, and we certainly saw this at Facebook when we made the move from desktop to mobile, is when we focus on technology, it's very often can take us in the wrong direction. We focus on the platform, but when we focus on people and the needs that we all have, then it's the key to success. And what can I share with you in terms of what we've learned in this area from Facebook? What can I share with the companies in this room? Well, first off, although we are unquestionably a technology company, our mission, our purpose, and we've heard about purpose more than once today, is unquestionably rooted in people. And our mission, as we describe it internally, is to give people the power to share and to make the world more open and connected. And whilst this can sound quite abstract and grandiose, perhaps, I had a very tangible experience of this 4 years before I joined Facebook. This is my mobile feed, and that's my profile, and the monkey behind the monkey mask is my son, Fred. And 4 years before I joined, there are elements of my life that were going pretty well. My career was going pretty well, but that was unquestionably coming at a cost of other aspects. I didn't think I was being a particularly good son. I didn't think I was being a particularly good husband. I didn't think I was being a particularly good parent. I wasn't spending the time in the way that perhaps I should have done. And I remember talking to Sophie, my wife, and saying, half-term holiday was coming up. I really want us to go and do something where we'll be together and connect as the four of us. And so we spent money that we didn't have. We bit the bullet and we booked a holiday to go to Kenya on safari. And I don't know if anyone's been on safari, but it's quite an extraordinary way to spend some time. And the children were amazing. They got up early in the morning because that's what you have to do. And we went for the safaris in the afternoon as well. One thing we wanted to do when we were there was to go and see the people as much as we wanted to go and experience the environment. So we spent a day in a Maasai village. And in the morning we learned how that operated, and in the afternoon Phoebe and Sophie went off to the women's hut, and Fred and I went off to the men's hut because that's how it works out there. And we mainly talked about Premiership football, which I know nothing about. But fortunately, my son does, but not quite as much as this guy knows everything about Liverpool FC. And something quite remarkable happened when we were leaving. We got onto the Jeep, and Fred got off the Jeep, walked to the leader of this Maasai tribe, and said, "Thank you so much for allowing me to visit your village. I will never forget you. I will tell all my friends about you." And this pretty atypical behavior by my son, by the way, as Phoebe will testify. And this leader of this Maasai tribe looked down to my son and said, "Fred, I'll remember you also. I will put your picture on my Facebook page." and in one moment, this the way to see these words, that whilst I thought, this is happening. This is actually happening. And to save me getting any grief on the way home, here's a picture of Phoebe with a cool mocktail from the other week. So balance, gender balance and children balance. So this is happening. It shows when you have purpose and a mission, how it can galvanize and how it can create connections, how it can bring people closer together. But again, actually, as we heard earlier from Stephen, a mission or a purpose isn't enough. You have to have a plan. And Facebook, we have internally what we call our 3, 5, and 10-year plan to deliver against this. And they are to serve our existing community, to build out the next generation of services. And I have to say, this next one does sound significantly better in an American accent, but create fundamental world change is our long-term goal that we see in some of the aspects we're seeing in transformative technology. And you can see kind of Facebook remains core to what we do. In the midpoint, platforms like Instagram, platforms like WhatsApp and Messenger, as well as Workplace. And then from left to right on the fundamental world change, that's connectivity, particularly around Free Basics and Internet.org, AI and Oculus. And so let me share some example of the progress that we've made on that mission in these steps, and how we're building people into every single one of the things that we do. And firstly, and it's amazing to be in a room with so many creators here, and most obviously that the things that we're building out are next generation tools and services to help people bring their stories to life on our platforms, tools like 360 video. And it's not that long ago, we'd have been pretty happy with the text-based nature of the feed. But, as I've said, expectations are rising. Our expectations of immersiveness and the richness of the experiences that we will spend our time with are increasing. So we moved to images, then we moved to video in the palm of people's hands for the first time. And then since last year, when we launched 360 video into newsfeed, more than 2 million viewing hours have occurred in a rapidly fast period of time, far exceeding what we thought might have happened. Now, another good example, and this is another direction of how we are building people and process into our systems, is a product called Safety Check. And Safety Check, it allows people to quickly share that they're safe with friends and family during a disaster, and it helps them connect with the people that they care about. It was developed by engineers internally who saw the devastating tsunami in Tokyo and also the Boston bombings, and were inspired to make a product that could help. And it is a sobering thought to think that Safety Check was activated hundreds of times in 2016 and reached hundreds of millions of people. And it's certainly an example of where we see technology working for people rather than the other way around. And looking ahead into these goals of VR and HR, future goals, and how people, we believe, sit at the center of these technologies, well, 360 is a pretty amazing piece of innovation, but it gets really exciting. I know we have examples in some of the breakout sessions as well. What gets really exciting is Oculus Rift and Gear VR. So far, we've seen more than 20 million hours logged in Gear VR since it was launched, and over 5 million hours spent watching videos. And to give a sense, and there are some incredible use cases in the room of AR and VR, and to give a sense of how we're thinking how VR could change the world as a connectivity platform, I wanted to share with you a demo from our founder and CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, during his speech at the Oculus Developer Conference last year. This is what it looks like on the right-hand side. So each one of those individuals look like that. They're experiencing this.
All right, so, hey, while we're here, do you want to take a quick modern family selfie?
Oh, I have just the tool for that. There you go.
Oh, of course you have a selfie stick.
Of course.
All right, let's do this. On, got to get the angle right. All right. Here, let's check out these photos. Which one do you like? You know, we got to put one of these on Facebook. What do you think? Right one?
Let's do the right side, the one on the right.
So, I think this one might even be better. No, all right, let's stick with this. All right, Facebook. Bam.
There you go.
Awesome.
All right.
There we have it. I mean, everyone and no one is in the same room. And it's an inherently social experience and one that's people-focused. In our AI research lab in Paris, we're working on machine learning, language technology, and computer vision. And people sit at the heart of that as well. I recently met with Matt King, who is one of our accessibility engineers. Matt has a degenerative disorder, which means that though he was not born blind, Matt actually lost his sight halfway through his mechanical engineering degree when he became permanently blind. And when you've got a mission to connect everyone in the world, what does that mean for the hundreds of millions of people who are blind and partially sighted? Particularly, as I've seen before, we're moving from a world that is shifting from one that was text-based to one that is more visually based in its nature. What should their expectations be? What should we be doing and creating there? So the application of artificial intelligence in photo recognition is actually key to a comprehension and of accessibility. And this is the demo that Matt uses. This is the post from his friend, and obviously he can't see any of this, but the post as it stands, we have his friend, and it says Sunday night splurge. So what are we thinking the Sunday night splurge might be? I mean, the mind begins to boggle. It could go into numerous different places. And actually, but when it says Sunday night splurge, this photo contains pizza. Now, just that single word creates a much broader and richer sense of experience and involvement. Let's take a look.
Channel Her Pallery, March 6 at 7:48 p.m. Sunday night splurge. Photo. Image may contain pizza food. You and 17 others reacted.
So there it is. And when I said to Matt, I said, that's absolutely amazing. He literally went, nah. I wish it said pepperoni pizza. Again, the kind of expectations arising. And whilst we're in the early stages of this, there absolutely is more to come. So the example from Matt is a really good one, because it speaks to the need for relevance, but it also speaks to another important factor in moving from myth to magic, and that's the role of mission and purpose in what we do as companies. There is something inherently powerful about being open and connected, inspiring one another to do better things and inspiring things to be better. It's more important now than it's ever been, and it's why you and I come together in rooms like this. It's why we look to be involved in communities like this to help make things a little bit better. It's also why I'm very proud to work at Facebook. So where does this leave us? Well, I started by saying the only thing that moves faster than technology is the speed of our expectations. And it's therefore slightly intimidating to think that perhaps today is the slowest day of the rest of our careers. But I think it's also inspiring to think that what's working today will not work tomorrow. And what's working tomorrow will not work the day after. And this is one of my, we have many posters in the office, this is one of my favorites. It's a Marshall McLuhan poster. And it took me quite a long time to understand what this means, but if it works, it's obsolete. And the extraordinary thing about being in this room with the companies that are represented here is from where you are starting from. You are starting from the basis of now and how to engender and create different technologies, applying the rules of creativity to take what can be a hollow vessel to challenging what is working now, because we know what works now will very quickly become obsolete. The expectations are high, but with relevance, mission, and creativity, we're more than capable of meeting them. Technology is helping with the big things, and it's also helping with the little things. It's helping more people to express themselves than ever. It's helping a small but important message tell loved ones in a time of crisis that you are safe. And I've learned that by being open and being connected and using technology, it can even make someone a slightly more creative cook. Thank you.